I'm Steve Roberts, calling on this webinar with you from Holborn Assets. Sorry, I got caught unawares there. Joining me today is Tyrone Siren. We like to call him Captain America, as he's based in America. He is American and he knows everything about American visas. So he's here to help me answer questions and go through any webinar questions you might have as well. Just to introduce who we are as a company, Holborn Assets are a worldwide financial services institution, one of the largest in the world. We have over 2 billion of assets under management, and we have over 300 million $300 million worth of investment into citizenship. Pretty big deal in this space. We've helped over 40 different nationalities achieve citizenship around the world, and today we're going to be talking about United States. We're just waiting for a few more people to join. I'm seeing they're just letting them in now. It's always a bit annoying when you start a webinar and people join later and you've got to do it again. So I'd rather just give it a minute just to let a couple of people in. Just so you know what we're going to be talking about, it's EB3. And the way we're going to talk about it is basically what it is, the process, the timeline, the costs, and a few details around how it works and how we've sort of streamlined the program. And then we're going to open up the questions, the floor to people who've got questions. If you look at the bottom of the screen, next to the share button, there's a Q&A button. At the bottom right hand side in the middle, where you can type your questions, and myself and Tyrone will go over those questions at the end if you're not clear or sure of anything during the presentation. Okay, well, might as well get going now, I think. Okay, well, let's start. So today we're talking about EB3. What is EB3 and how we can get your families and yourself to America to live your dreams and get a permanent residence that leads to citizenship in the United States. And we can get this sort of done, the visa permanent residence part, within about 18 months to 2 years. That's how long it typically takes. And I'm going to talk about basically now the process. So Holborn Assets have worked really hard on simplifying the process and breaking it down into 6 easy steps. So let's talk about those first. The first, and then what I'm going to do is break those steps down. So first of all, the 6 steps are: number 1, we need to identify one main applicant per family who is happy to take a qualifying job from an American employer. Number 2, we then need a qualifying job offer from an American employer. Number 3, we will then need a work permit for that main applicant, or a labour certificate, I should say. Once we have the labour certificate, we will then be able to apply for a green card for the main applicant and their family being their spouse and children under 21. Once we get approval on the green card, for the whole family, we must then obtain an appointment at the local USA embassy in the country you reside, and present your case with the supporting documents, and we seek approval from the local consulate. And that's number 5. Number 6 is, once we're approved by the consulate, we're on our way to the USA, where they will issue a visa to travel, where you must travel to the United States within 180 days. And that's where we then land in America, receive your green cards, and start the job as the main applicant. So let's just start and break those 6 steps down. At the end of the meeting, number 1, at the end of the meeting, I will be sharing a link, which will be a QR code, where you can literally go on, click the QR code and book yourself a meeting with myself or Tyrone, or both of us, where we can discuss your family situation and decide on who will be the main applicant from your family. That's how we decide that. So we'll have a conversation with you individually. So at the end of the meeting, click that QR code, book a meeting with us, and we can discuss it one-to-one. Number two, so once we've decided on that and we've completed our background checks on your family and you, and collected your documentation from you, we will be in a position to make an offer of that job to the main applicant, which will be from our American partners. At this point, I'd like to point out, we do have a strong relationship with an American employer. They've been working with us for about 12 years now. I will go into the job a little bit later on. This is where we get the job offers from, of course. It's a strong partnership that we have. They're very experienced in EB3 and the opportunities, and they're happy to offer our clients basic, employment for EB3 purposes. Now, the fact the whole procedure hinges on the American employer, and without them, EB3 wouldn't be much of an offer. So, they're very important, and we do have to take this job offer very seriously. And to collect your documents and to offer the job in the first part will take about 1 to 2 months to get that part sorted. Once we've got the job offer in hand, we can then apply for, our legal team and our admin team can apply for a labour certificate for you and your for this job. The labour certificate takes around 10 to 12 months to achieve. We have no control over the labour department in the United States, unfortunately, but it is normal for around 10 to 12 months wait for a labour certificate for you. Once we receive the labour certificate, we are then able to apply for your green card approval. Now, at this point, we are able to control the speed of this a little bit. There is a priority service available to the main applicant to prioritise your application, where we can actually get the green card approval inside 2 weeks, rather than the 6 to 8 months it would normally take. It is an extra fee, which we'll go over in the cost structure a little bit later on, but it does speed things up a little bit. So, it's 1 to 2 months to get the documents and job offer out, 10 to 12 months to get the labour certificate, and then we get to the green card approval. Most people, 99% of people, do want to expedite it because they want to get going now. They're ready to go. So, rather than wait another 6 to 8 months, the priority service is available. It is optional, but we do suggest you do this because it does speed things up so much. Once you've got the green card approval, we are then able to book an appointment at the USA consulate in your country where you reside. Depending on where you are, this can take 2 weeks, it could take 3 months. It depends on the consulate in your area. But once we book that appointment, we then book the visa interview where we go and present the case. We basically say, here's the job offer, here's the labour certificate, here's the green card approval, here's all the supporting documents, and they may or may not ask you a few questions around the job and what you're doing and why you're going. We'll go over that in a little bit at the interview. You will be fully prepared for that, and we will fully go over what to expect at these interviews. Now, once we're approved, just to go back one, the visa interview takes about 5-10 minutes. It's not a massive big deal. It is a sort of present the documents, couple of questions sort of scenario. So once we get the approval from the US consulate, you then receive a visa to travel, and that visa is good for you and your family for 180 days. That means all of you must travel to the United States within the 180 days, where you can collect your green cards. You'll be, as Tyrone likes to explain, when you land in America, you will be greeted and taken to the back room where they sort of welcome you to the United States, understand, check your documents, and take an address where they're going to issue your green card. And if everything works like clockwork, that's pretty much the process where you will be getting your green card within inside 18 months. Could take longer, could be a little shorter, but on average, 18 months to 2 years is the norm to get that, from start to finish. Let's talk about the job offers. I hope that's all understandable, but we can go over the questions at the end. Let's just talk about the jobs. So what we offer here is a tier 3 level job with our partners in the United States, which translates into an unskilled basic job that helps us with the process to get there. A lot of people ask at this point, why can't it be a skilled job? Why can't I be a lawyer, a doctor, a banker? Well, of course, if we were to go down that road, the American employer would have to prove why they are giving a skilled job to a foreign national over an American citizen, which is virtually impossible to prove, unless you are Lionel Messi or someone who's particularly good in that particular role that they do, and they can, prove why they are better than anyone else at that job, which is, why would they give a banking job to a foreign national when they've got 100 bankers in America already? So it's a very difficult process, and we've seen it happen a lot, where a lot of people have tried this route and a lot of people have failed doing this. So this sort of helps us get the process done quicker. There is no such requirements with a basic unskilled job. So that's why we offer the jobs we do, and of course we're offering this around the world, en masse. So if we started going down skilled routes, it would take forever. So the American employer that we work with, they are a national company in the United States. They are a distribution company. They have various locations. I think they have locations Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, which is near New York, Texas at one point, Arizona is another one. Currently, we are taking the applications for Pennsylvania, which is near New York. It's proved to be very, very successful, and it's nearly full, and they are closing that location at the end of August. The new location is yet to be announced after August, so we do have a month yet to take applications for Pennsylvania. So we're good to go right now, but if you can't make it or get it done by then, or at least get it started by the end of August, we will announce the next location, which would probably be either Indiana, Ohio, somewhere like that. It's pretty standard sort of locations. The company themselves are, as I said, are distribution company. The one in Pennsylvania distributes fashion around America, clothing. The job would be a basic order operative, where orders would come in for clothing. Your job would be to prepare the order ready for shipment. So it's not a particularly heavy lifting job or a taxing job. It pays around $36,000 a year. It does come with medical aid, so you do get covered on your medical insurance. So it's designed to set you up. So when you get to America, you've got a job. You've got $2,000 or $3,000 a month coming in. Now, this is really important to mention at this point. The reason you've got your green card is, based on the fact that you have a job, but it's not tied to the job. The green card has no conditions. It doesn't mean you've got to stay in this job forever. It's not a slave labor situation, but there is a sort of key to this. And, a lot of people ask, how long have I got to stay in this job for? Is it forever? If I leave the job, do I lose my green card, etc.? And of course, it's not the case. America's, one of the countries that's built, its whole history is built on immigration. It's the only country in the world that offers an option for everybody. It's accessible to everybody. In my experience over the years, citizenship's got very elitist and it's very expensive. Europe, is over nearly $500,000 now. The Caribbean is $200,000-300,000 now. It's getting very, very expensive. EB3 is one program, which is actually the cheapest program in the world right now towards citizenship. It really is a fantastic opportunity, and I think you've really got to bear that in mind when making the decision here. So America's very good at immigration. In fact, Americans you know, you have your Irish American, your African American, you know, they're built on immigration, right? And I think they've all got roots somewhere. So it's designed very well. So don't worry about having to stay in the job or anything like that. Once you start the job, you do have to start the job. When you get there, you get your green card, the main applicant must start the job. Um, on average, people stay in the job anything from 6 to 12 months on average. However, once you start the job, your constitutional rights, your human rights are all intact. If, for instance, the employer was mean to you or was racist towards you or abused you in any way, you don't have to work there. You can leave. And I think the key to this is a genuine reason for leaving the position. And when I talk about genuine reason, it's sort of, that could be a genuine good reason or a genuine bad reason. A genuine good reason would be you found another job, a better job, more suited to you, a better paying job, more qualified job. You found one. So yeah, of course, that's the whole American dream, right? So once you found a better job, you are free to leave. I think the problem we have is more of a moral problem than a legal problem. We've worked with these employers for a long time. We have a very good relationship with them. They've helped us move, I don't know, over 1,000 families. I think Tyrone's been dealing with them for a long time. So, there really is more of a moral situation where they do expect you to start work. They want you to work. They've given you this job. They're helping you get your EB3 status. It's not really designed for people to come over and bounce off them. However, people can, and they do. However, we've got a moral obligation here to make sure that you go there with the right attitude and you are prepared to work for this company. If you are to happen to find a better job in 6 months or so, then so be it. Then, that's fair game, so we could talk about that more when we have our one-to-one meetings. But, that's how it works pretty much. I don't think there's anything else I can really talk to now before we go on to the costing. So let's go on to that, and then we can go to your questions and maybe go over, be a little bit more clear. I see a couple of people, the questions are coming in thick and fast. Yeah, don't forget there's a QA button at the bottom. Click the QA, put your question in there. We'll go over everybody's questions at the end. I see a couple of people raising their hands, but I'd rather if you just put it in there, the Q&As, that would be better. Another question we get asked a lot of is success rate. What's your success rate like? How real is this? How good are you? Look, Holborn Assets have been going a long time. We're a massive company around the world. We have 25 offices, 18 countries, 25 years old this year, the company is. As I said earlier, we've got billions under management, 300 million invested in CBI. A company like that doesn't exist without being successful. Our success rate in EB3 is in the high 90s. I'd say it's around 95%, I think, the last time Tyrone was talking to me about it. I think the reason for our success rate is it's a bit of a catch-22. The reason we're so good at this is our lawyers and our admin team are very, very careful about who we take onto this program. We don't just take anybody onto the program. We have to do background checks. So before you sign any documents, before you pay any money, we will want to do a background check on you and your family, just to make sure there's no criminality in the background, no, immigration problems in the background. So we do those checks first, which obviously eliminates a lot of problems before we start the process. So that's one thing that helps us with our success rate. The other thing about the success rate is really the experience that the American employers have and that we have in this. So the way that this would work is sort of immigration sit in the middle. They check out the employers, is this a real job? Who's this person you're employing? How much are you giving them? Where are they working? So, immigration will check out the American employer, which they already are very experienced. So we know that they're good. The next thing they will do after they're happy with the employer is check out you, which is what we've done on the background check. So if we're happy with you and we're happy with the employer, the rest of it is ticking boxes. So we're pretty much, 95% were good. The 5% that have failed, and I think it's important to go over that, is usually people who've pulled out the program themselves. A 2-year process is a long time. A lot of things can happen in 2 years. Personal problems, death, job loss, some problem with money. It can happen. So, people's lives do change, and we do sort of cater for a refund clause if something happens to you or your family, which we can go over in the questions. I'm sure that will come up. But really, the process itself, we don't really fail. It's more about the client themselves pulling away and coming out. So we're very confident that once you've been approved by our lawyers and our admin team, that we will complete your process. Yeah, cost. Let's talk about the cost structure. So the cost of EB3. First of all, the main applicant. The cost of the main applicant is $45,000. That's for the main applicant. And then it's $3,000 per family member. So we've got the main applicant. So for a family of 4, for an example, we've got $45,000, then 3 lots of 3 for the 3 family members. So that would be a total of $54,000. We don't expect you to pay that all up front in one go. We do a payment structure. We are a little bit flexible, but on average, we usually split that into three equal payments. So $54,000 would be an 18 situation. So it's sort of 3 payments usually, and we do it on a milestone basis as we progress. So you would start off with an 18,000 deposit. Once we've achieved a labour certificate, you would pay the next one. Once we've achieved the green card approval, you would pay the next one, which is where we go to the consulate and get the visa to travel. There is one extra cost, as I mentioned before, on the middle payment. If you want to expedite your green card and make it quicker, bring it down to 15 days rather than 6 to 8 months, it's an extra $4,500 per family. That's not per person, per family. So it's a one-off $4,500 cost, which is paid directly to the US government. It's not for us. It's your choice, and that is optional when we get to that part. So a family of 4 with expediting would actually cost $58,500, $45,000 for the main applicant, $3,000 per family member after them, and $4,500 for expediting service. That's the cost. So you could actually do the figures in your own head for your family. I think that's pretty much the process and the timeline and the costing and our success rate and a bit of an explanation around the American employer that we have. I hope that's been clear, hopefully, but I can see quite a lot of questions coming in. I think Tyrone also has a list of questions. So at this point, I will sort of let Tyrone go through the questions we had pre the meeting. I think there was quite an extensive list of questions there, which may make things clear. And then once he's finished those, we've got the live questions now, which I see we've got quite a few coming in at the bottom. Whilst Tyrone goes through those, I will share my screen just to put the QR code on the screen. So if anybody wants to book a meeting directly, scan the QR code and book yourself in, and for a 20-minute consultation where we can go over in more detail for your situation. So let me just share my screen and then I'll hand over to Tyrone. Hopefully you can see that now. There we go. So Tyrone, I think you're on mute, but I'll leave you to it. No, you're not. You're okay. All right. So I'll hand you over to you. So please.
All right. Well, thanks, Steve, and thanks for that very nice introduction and presentation. As Steve mentioned, I'm an American. I've been helping people through the EB3 process for 16 years now, so quite a long time. Working with Holborn for the last 6 years now, helping families from all around the world. So we help families from all the way from Vietnam to the Middle East to Nigeria to other African countries. to South America. So, and that's the nice thing about the EB3 program. Everyone is welcome, from all countries around the world. And we, as Steve mentions, it's really kind of a great program because it allows American companies to legally hire foreign workers, and foreign workers a legal pathway to the U.S. and to eventually get a green card. I see kind of a question about here that I see about is this a passport or what is the green card? The green card is permanent residency. And it's the first step on the way to citizenship. So a green card will allow you and your family to live in America, work in America. So you and your spouse can work anywhere. Your children under the age of 21, and that's a very firm number in the U.S. that your children have to be unmarried and under the age of 21. To travel to America, children get free education at the elementary and high school level, and then also qualify for different sorts of students, government scholarships and student loans once they get to the university age. And after 5 years of being a permanent resident in the U.S., you can apply for citizenship and become an American citizen and passport holder. So it's a pretty clear program. It's one of the questions is, is it a reputable program? Yeah, it's been around since 1990. So the program itself is 34 years old. It allows 10,000 people a year through the process. So there's quite a few openings, and everyone from around the world is welcome. So just looking at a few of the questions that we received earlier in our when people were applying for or were registering for the event. Okay, so it's if I take an EB3 job, can I still do business in the U.S. and can my wife or husband work? Yes. So the thing is, as Steve mentioned, this is your first job in America. It's absolutely necessary that you go to work at this job. It's a good job, and the employers are very good. They pay on time, they give health benefits. At the same time, though, you can explore business opportunities in the U.S. You can start your own business. You have that right as a permanent resident. Your spouse could start a business, could get a job. So that's very much open. You basically have all the same rights as an American citizen when you're once you arrive. So I'm looking here. I think Steve actually answered a lot of these.
Okay.
Let's see. One good question here is, I already have a American visa. Or I've already been denied an American visa. Does that make a difference for the EB3 application? Not necessarily. I know, we speak to a lot of people around the world who unfortunately have been denied travel visas or tourist or business visas. That's okay. That does not affect your ability or won't affect your success either in the EB3 program, because EB3 is an immigrant visa. Let's make that clear. It's not a temporary work visa or temporary business visa. It's a permanent visa. And so it goes through the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Immigration Division, not through the tourist visa division, which is in the non-immigrant immigrant division. So even if you've been denied, as long as it wasn't because you're on the basis that you're a criminal or broke some sort of laws, it's not going to have any effect on your EB3 process. If you already have a visa, that's great. It shows that you've been approved by the U.S. before, but that in itself does not necessarily give you special rights with the EB3 process. I see another question just to kind of follow up on that. That if I'm already in the U.S., can I apply for EB3? And the answer to that is yes. Yes, if you're on a valid visa in the U.S., you can apply from the U.S. And depending on the visa and the duration of the visa, you can stay in the U.S. While we're processing your EB3. While you go through the EB3 process, it tends to go a little bit faster if you're in the U.S. because you're not going to have to, make that interview at the consulate. You'll be like doing an adjustment of status. So it tends to go a little bit faster, but you certainly can do it. So if you're a student in the U.S., for example, you're studying at school, you can start the EB3 process. If you're on some sort of work visa, like an H-1B, you can start the EB3 process. So very much so. Like I said, and whether you're in your home country or in the U.S., you can start the process. All right.
Should we go over the live
Yeah.
questions, or are you still
Yeah.
going
Why
through
don't we go
those?
over the live questions and some other
Okay.
questions probably organically develop.
Well, you've just answered the first one, which was basically, can you apply for EB3 whilst in the US? So you've just done that question. Could you share the financial costs? So, okay, I'll just quickly say what the financial costs are again. It's $45,000 for the main applicant and $3,000 per family member. So if you are a family of four, it would be 45, 3, 3, and 3. So that would be a total of $54,000 plus your $4,500 of expediting if you want to have a priority service on your green card. So 45,000 main applicant, 3,000 per family member. Tyrone, the next one I think is for you. This is a good one. What if you're overqualified and you are a professional guy, and when you get to the embassy, won't the embassy ask you that you're a bit overqualified for this job that you're doing?
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good question. And I think probably, I don't know, what would you say, Steve? 70-80% of our clients are overqualified
Absolutely.
for the most part. But that's okay. This program is built again for people to legally enter the U.S. And for employers to hire foreign workers legally in the U.S. There is there's another question, right, that kind of connects this. Why do they hire foreign workers and have this program? There's a labor shortage in America, especially at the at kind of the entry level job level. There's literally just not enough people to fill all the jobs. So that's why a program like this exists. Now, if in your home country, you might be a CPA, a nurse, a lawyer, but those kind of skills, although they contribute to who you are as a person, don't always transfer to the U.S. So if you're a lawyer in Nigeria, for example, or in Ghana, you're not going to immediately be able to become a lawyer in the U.S. I mean, there's certain exams you have to take and qualifications, and same with being a nurse or with most any skilled job. So, and oftentimes, it's hard to prove the equivalency. So, what the way you want to look at this is it's a stepping stone to the U.S. And if you are highly skilled, once you get to the U.S., you can begin applying for jobs that are maybe more suitable, eventually, or your husband can take the job, and if you're high skilled, then you can look for a higher job. Now, when you get to the consulate, they might ask you, why, some of your status is applying for, a job at a warehouse. And I think that's just simply, for the most part, and I think most of the people interested in this have children that, they have families and they want their families to have a better life. And this is an opportunity for them to get to the U.S. I think, if you're doing this program, you've probably worked very hard in your life. And you just explain this to the consulate, like, I'm willing to take any job in the U.S., in order to get my family there and start a better life for them. And what you want to do is just show that you're sincere. People change jobs all the time, so in life. So, this is just one job you're going to do for a certain period of your life to get to a certain place, particularly for your family. If you have children, you want to get them into education. So, so I'm not. What we just need you to be is sincere about taking this job. I mean, if you think this is a job you'd never do and you don't want to do it, this is not the right program. So, but I'm not, we're not so concerned about what your educational background is or your, career background is. More is that you're sincere about going to this job, and you need to be able to explain that to the U.S. consulate that you really are taking this job. And usually it's for, your children and to better your own self.
Yeah, that's a good answer, mate. I think, just to add to that, it's almost like we're not asking people to be dishonest or lie. It's just tell the truth. I want a better opportunity for my family. I want to live the American dream.
Yeah.
I want to start there. And I think, you know, that's what this is all about, right? How else are you going to get there? So, regardless of your qualifications, it's absolutely no problem at all. Age limit, Tyrone, is there one?
No, there's a minimum age. You must be at least 18 if you're going to do this program as a main applicant. There's no legally or officially there's no upper age limit. Now that being said, you have to be healthy enough to do the job, and you have to be serious about doing the job. So I typically say somewhere maybe early 50s, because if you're in your 60s, it might be hard to convince the U.S. consulate that you really are going to go work. You might be looking more like you might want to go retire. So um, typically I say somewhere probably in the early 50s if you're in good health. Although it's not official, we've taken clients in their late 50s and even 60, and they've got through the process. But I would typically say, probably around 50 for most people, but early 50s anyway.
Um, Here's one. What is a guarantee that I won't be scammed? That's a good one, right? I mean, no,
Well, no, I
it's
mean,
a fair
that's, I guess,
question. It's a fair question, right? There's a
no,
lot of
it's,
scams out there. There really is.
yeah. That's probably the most important question, isn't it? Let's start there. I think
Yeah.
one is, as Steve has mentioned, Holborn is a very large, substantial company. Look them up online. Um, you know, it's
Not hard to find, right?
25 offices, 750 employees. It's been around for 25 years. It's very stable. It's going to be here tomorrow. It'll be here next year. It probably be here in 10 years. Um, so the company itself, on the US side, our partners have been doing this for 10 years. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years. I've been working with the current EB3 partners for 10 years. Um, you know, After we have a one-on-one conversation, we'll share more information about the employer so you can look them up yourself and see, these are legitimate companies. And then, you know, at each step of the process, as we're doing this, it's very transparent. You're going to be able to monitor your own case at the U.S. Department of Labor, at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So, you're going to have logging credentials, so you're being able to see that your case is actually being processed. You don't
Mm.
have to depend only on us.
Yeah. There's a good answer here for this one. How do we know the employer is reputable in America? Well, look, you're going through an immigration process. That's what the immigration process is all about. They'll do that checking for you. If the company was a tin pot company in America, your immigration process would be denied. So, we don't really have to worry about that. Although, as Tyrone just explained, we've been working with this company, very reputable, for 12 years. You are going through a immigration process where they actually check the company, the jobs, and that it's the real deal. So, there's no need to worry
Very
about
much.
that.
And that's the first step of the program is that we work with the U.S. or the employer works with the U.S. Department of Labor. Um, and the U.S. Department of Labor goes all through the company, checks the companies out, and checks you out too, and make sure that they're a fit company to hire foreign workers. So, and again, that's a very transparent process, so that you'll be able to monitor it also.
How much time does this process take? If we start from today, I'll leave you that, Tyrone.
I like to be conservative, say probably a couple of years. By the time we get your cases together and the process, and governments can be a little unpredictable. But typically I'd say 2 years is kind of a time frame that you could plan on.
Okay. Oh, age restrictions for kids. I think we mentioned earlier, it's 21, children under 21, um, unmarried children under 21. Sort of a dependency thing. If they're over 21, if you've got children 23, 24, then they must apply for themselves. They are classed as adults now. They're not dependents. They're not dependent on you anymore, or they shouldn't be. If they are, then unfortunately we can't include them. However, if they're not and they're out there working and they've got jobs and lives of their own, they are more than welcome to do the process for themselves. So you could do one and your children could do one if they're over. Will we get a refund if we cannot get the visa, Tyrone?
Yes, there's a refund policy in place. And when we sit down, it's typically at least half of any funds that have been paid up to that certain point. But I think on a one-on-one call, we could sit down and discuss that in more detail. But yeah, there's certainly a refund policy in place.
Okay. I'm not sure what this means, but I'll read it. Does the systems admin qualify for that category, if not for those who want to live the American dream? Can you talk about the jobs in the category?
Oh, I think I understand. So
okay.
Your current job is being a systems administrator. I wonder if you would qualify. Okay, so the short answer is yes, but it's not a job being a systems administrator. That's but boy, you certainly have a lot of job opportunities once you got to America being a systems administrator. The jobs we have are categorized as unskilled, and so they're kind of entry level jobs, working in warehouses, packing boxes. And again, I realize that probably doesn't fit into your current career, but it's a stepping stone to get to America, because once you're in America, you start your job at the warehouse, and then you start looking around for a job as a systems administrator. Or if you're married, maybe your wife takes the job at the warehouse, and when you get to America as a full permanent resident, you begin applying for jobs as a system administrator. So the short answer is we don't offer jobs for systems administrators. We have the one jobs in the warehouses, but once you're in America, you can, and you have a full green card, you can of course start applying for those type of jobs that are more fitting to your career goals.
Perfect. Here's a good one. Is it okay if I have a part-time job as a freelancer outside of my contract with the agreed employer, or do I have to work solely for them?
Nope. You are a permanent resident of the U.S. You can have the job that has sponsored you. You can have a part-time job. You could drive a taxi. You can do online work. Freelance work. You can do anything you'd like. You're free to work for anybody and take any jobs.
So you can have multiple jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you continue with the main employer until you want to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Does the employer have unlimited open positions, and how many people can you assist at one time to get those jobs?
Sure, that's a good question. So what we typically do is we have something called a labor round. And as Steve mentioned, right now, our current labor round is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And we typically accept, there is no limit on the numbers of people that we can necessarily accept, but we only have these openings for a certain period of time. So the current opening is until August 30th, and then we'll have a new labor round at probably a different location. So the answer is that it's more of a time limit rather than actual numbers limit.
Would you provide a job for both the husband and the wife? If there was a main applicant, could the wife also get a job there too?
Yeah, absolutely. The company would like that. That would be 2 employees for the price of one.
Yeah. I mean, there's only one requirement, but if you both wanted a job, you could both take one, right?
Yeah, with these types of jobs in America, and that's why these companies qualify for EB3 and bring in foreign workers. It's very hard to get American workers. They can get American workers, but American workers kind of come and go quite frequently. So, they found that EB3 workers are usually a little more stable, and they show up on time, and are really hardworking people. So that's one of the reasons that our partner company likes to sponsor international workers.
Okay, I've got 3 questions, all very similar around the payment. Are the payment plans available? Should the fees be paid at once? Is there an arrangement to get out once, get there, and part payment? But let's be clear. The payment is what it is. It's $45,000 for the main applicant, $3,000 per family member, and all costs must be paid before you go to America. We do help with a payment plan. We are pretty flexible, but normally it's in 3 or 4 installments. So if you're a family of 4, it's $54,000. That would be 18, 18, 18 over the 18 2-year period. Or we could slightly tweak that to suit you. We understand cash flow, $50,000 is still a lot of money, right? So we are happy to sit and work with you within reason on a payment plan, but there's definitely no visas issued until all payments have been paid. But yes, installments as we progress is the way we'd like to do it. Usually 3 payments, maybe 4, but we can talk to you individually. The QR code is on the screen. If you want to book a meeting, scan the code, book a meeting. We can discuss that individually. Here's one. Are there opportunities besides the US, Australia, or New Zealand, which may be lesser or cheaper, Tyrone?
I'd say, yeah, a lot of countries offer some sort of work visa program. However, with the countries you just listed, New Zealand, say Canada, Australia, typically those are temporary. What makes EB3 special is that it's permanent residency immediately. And those programs in most countries, first of all, they have a lot of qualifications that you have to qualify for. And then when you get there, they might be a 2-year visa or a 4-year visa that's temporary, that has to be renewed, and you're dependent on the employer to keep working. With EB3, you have that independence. We don't currently offer any of those programs because I just don't see them. I don't think they're not great programs. I mean, if you're really dreaming of moving to New Zealand, there are companies out there will probably assist with that, and it's fine. It's just we focus mostly on the U.S. and permanent residency.
Here's a good question. My child is 18 years old. Is he allowed to work part-time while studying? I assume the child's in America. I assume studying right now. And being the main applicant for himself. I would imagine it's the kid. The child's 18 in America studying, wants to do EB3.
Right.
Can he do it whilst he's studying, or is that hard to do?
If your child is on a student visa in the U.S., they're not immediately allowed to work. There is a way to get some employment authorization on a student visa, but it doesn't come as part of the student visa. If you started applying for the EB3, your child would still be on a student visa while the EB3 process was going on, and there'd still be the restrictions on employment. I think most students can work at the university. They have the rights to work at the university, have a university job. So that would not change.
Okay, it might be a good idea to book a meeting and discuss that case individually.
Right.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a complicated one. This guy here asking about systems admin again. Can you please touch on some of the jobs? Look, we offer one job, and it's working for the company that we are associated with. It's working in the warehouse as a distribution operator, where you would take an order for clothes or books or whatever it is. You would get that order ready for shipment. That's the only jobs we have. It's regardless of what you currently do. We have one job, and that's what it is. And it's nationwide in the United States. Is my wife above? If my wife is above 21 and also qualify as a dependent, or has she? Oh, right, okay. My wife's over 20. My wife's over 21. Can she also qualify as a dependent? Yes, Absolutely. Yeah. If you are the main applicant, your spouse would be classed as a dependent automatically. So your spouse would get on this, no problem. So she would be included. Do we need to show financial capability to the United States Authority apart from the fee we pay to Holborn? Good question.
Yeah, no, you do not have to show any financial capability. That being said, I mean, this is something to keep in mind. You will be relocating to the U.S. The employer doesn't pay for any relocation costs. So you should budget a bit for moving, but you don't actually have to show any money to the U.S. government to show that you have a certain amount of wealth or savings. But on a personal level, you should start budgeting for that.
Good one. Please do the job. The warehouse workers require qualifications. I'm a degree holder in Ghana, and I guess you need a resume to fit the job. No, there's no experience necessary. It doesn't matter what you do currently. You could be a CEO, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, a banker, you could be a systems admin, you could be anything you want. The jobs we are offering, there is no qualification needed. So training on the job, no problem. How does this visa affect my other non-immigrant visas like B1, B2?
That's a good question. It doesn't affect your visa. If you currently have a B1 or B2 visa, you can keep that visa. It doesn't in any way cancel that visa. Only after you get the green card would they cancel your B1 visa, of course, because you would no longer need it. But it doesn't affect your current visa.
Great. How long do you need to stay in the sponsored job? Can we leave the sponsored job after a month once we find anything better in the US? So can they move on after a month?
Well, I mean, there's no law that says you have to stay a certain amount of time. That being said, I think you definitely want to demonstrate that you took this job seriously and that you were sincere about working there. And for that reason, I would suggest you stay 6 to 12 months and really put in the effort. So there was never any question about that you were serious about the job. But on the other hand, there is no law keeping you there either. But I'd say unless there was some major reason, I would not leave after a month. I would kind of just put in some more time and just really, the employer spent a lot of time and money sponsoring you too. Kind of pay them back a bit for their time and effort.
I think it's like I said earlier, it's a bit of a moral thing. Look, you go in there, they've helped you with the visa, you've got your green card, you've got to the job, you've started it. To bounce off them after a couple of weeks could cause suspicion. It could open a door to the fact that you've committed immigration fraud. And, we're here to protect you and give you the right advice. I think, yes, of course, long-term goals is to do better when you get there, do the job, find a better job. That's the dream. However, to do it immediately could open a door for complaint, and our job's to protect you from that. So we suggest you stay in there for a few months just to make sure that there's no question about your commitment to the role. I think that's pretty good. Good advice. Could we share a document? How do we start this? How do we begin this process? Look, to start the process, sir, what you need to do is scan this code here in the bottom right-hand corner. Book a meeting. Use your phone, take a picture. This will take you directly to my diary. Book a meeting. We can discuss and we can go through the starting steps where I can share the relevant information you need to start the process. My dearest daughter is now 21 years old. Do I still have access to her to come with me as a family?
Unfortunately, no. There's just the U.S. has a very strict cutoff that the children have to be under the age of 21. So unfortunately, no. Do set up a call with us. We discuss that situation. And potentially she can do a separate EB3.
Is the United States of America still accepting a family of 4?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Family of
families of
5,
5,
family of
6,
10.
10.
Yeah.
So,
It can be as big as a family as you wish. As long as you
yes.
are a main, we have one adult as a main applicant, your wife or husband, and as many children under 21 as you wish to have. You can go. How do we start the process? Please take a picture of the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner that's on the screen now. Scan it. It will take you to my diary. Book a meeting. I will take you through the starting steps. No problem. Can my dependent work as well? Because he's already 18. So when they get to America, can the 18-year-old start work?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a permanent resident, has the same rights as any 18-year-old in America. You get a job, either you can get a job at the warehouse, he could find his own job. So yeah, he would be able to do that.
Great. We have 2 questions left. Okay. How long does it take to get the green card? It might have been, we have covered it, but we will quickly say, Tyra mentioned it earlier, it's usually around, on average, 18 to 2 years. Let's say 2 years would be the max sort of thing to get the green card. It can get done quicker. I've seen it done quicker, so 18 months to 2 years. But just to be safe, depending on, with all due respect on the client, we do require a lot of documentation, birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc. So, as long as you're as motivated as we are, we can get it done as quickly as you can. And also, you would definitely have to expedite your green card at that point. So, yeah, it could be 18 months, 2 years. And the last question I've got here, how can the payment process of a family of 4 be paid and how much? Last time I've mentioned that, so a good question to finish on. The main applicant is $45,000 and it's $3,000 for your spouse, $3,000 per child. So if you're a family of 4, that would be $54,000 split over a 3 or 4 payment installment plan, usually split equally. But please book a meeting on the code here. Let's discuss your personal situation and see where we can help. Have a good evening.
All right.
All
Look forward
day.
to see you all again. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.